Hello and welcome to What the Hey, where I'm your regular host of What the Hey, and today on What the Hey, I'm once again answering yet another question. When I go to my notebook of knowledge, I see the question of, what the hey is Monty Python? Now this question comes from Bence Erdész, so hello to you and thank you very much for the question. Now, in terms of a very basic description, Monty Python was a comedy group that performed for television, films, and live performances. Now, overall, for the Monty Python group, there are about 6 main members. There are some others associated with the group, but there were basically 6 of them that considered themselves to be writers rather than performers, but pretty much all of them contributed to the screen or in a live performance. Now, a majority of the 6 members within the Monty Python group came from Britain, so that's kind of their origins and place where they performed a lot of their stuff, but a few of them were from like the US, so they weren't all British, but that's primarily where a lot of them came from. When actually discussing how the Monty Python group came to be, some of them met up when they were younger during their university years, while some joined the group later by their affiliation of doing comedy. But essentially why every member that was a part of Monty Python even joined was the fact that they had a love for comedy, performing, as well as writing. Now, the actual first official series that the Monty Python group did would be Monty Python's Flying Circus. Now, depending on what type of broadcasting service you're discussing in reference to Monty Python, the Flying Circus series didn't start until 1969, but it lasted until 1974, so for a little bit. And essentially what Monty Python's Flying Circus was a bunch of different comedic sketches that the people in Monty Python would write separately and then come together and perform. In the Monty Python comedic group, depending on what type of material you're discussing that they made, were very well known for their style of comedy. Their stuff was kind of different because they did a lot of stuff that revolved around wordplay, dark humor, lack of a punchline, which was kind of new. Additionally, they did cold open comedy as well as breaking the fourth wall, so a lot of this was stuff people hadn't really seen before. Very quickly, I'm going to give the filmography list that Monty Python has. Some of them were simply just combined sketches that Monty Python did, but some of the movies had an actual plot. And now for something completely different was Monty Python's first ever film in 1971, followed by Monty Python and the Holy Grail in 1975, Monty Python's Life of Brian in 1979, followed by Monty Python's The Meaning of Life in 1983. And while a majority of the Monty Python films did have a legitimate plot, they did all consist of the same type of comedy. And since the films and early sketches that the Monty Python group did, there have been live performances as well as Monty Python reunions, so some of them still do get together. However, a majority of the original Monty Python group have separately split off to kind of do their own solo careers. Besides mentioning some of the Monty Python films, I did want to mention some of the famous sketches that they're known for. You have very famous Monty Python sketches like Nudge Nudge, The Lumberjack Song, Spam, The Spanish Inquisition, Ministry of Silly Walks, and Dead Parrot. There's quite a few more than just those, but those are some of the more notable ones that a lot of people tend to recognize. In terms of my general opinion, I personally really like the comedic style of the Monty Python group. I don't recall if I've ever explained this, but this is a Monty Python themed mug. I believe that I either received this in like middle school or high school, and the main reason I believe one of my friends got it for me was because I love the Monty Python and the Holy Grail movie. I'm gonna be completely honest, I had no idea that Monty Python, like the group, made more than just the Holy Grail. Like, I don't know why it didn't click with me before, but they've made titles like The Spanish Inquisition, and I recognize that. It didn't click for me. But the amount of stylized jokes are super fun, and just the way they do some of their movies, like in the Holy Grail, there's like a murderous rabbit. Like, I don't feel like anyone else has done something like that, so very brave to do and very funny. Which is interesting because there's a bit of brief history about the Monty Python group trying to bring their comedy style to other places like the US, but they were a little worried because it was like a British style of comedy, so they were worried it wouldn't stick in other countries. It's also super cool, and I'll put some of the images, but one of the members of the Monty Python group did a lot of the artwork and animation for the group, and it's very recognizable and a very interesting style of how to do art. So that's pretty cool that one of the members contributed in a different way other than just writing and performing. But yeah, I think the Monty Python group is really fun. I had a shirt at one point of the Black Knight that gets like his arms and legs chopped off, because that whole scene's very funny. So I've gotten a few pieces of merch without really recognizing just how big the influence of Monty Python is. I've also occasionally gotten random TikToks of people who have dressed up as the Monty Python characters, like going around and like banging coconuts together to act like horses. It's so good. I did want to mention, because I found this out through my dad, but there's a lot of Monty Python's work on Netflix, and this isn't a Netflix sponsorship in any way, but if you're having a Netflix account and you're having the curiosity to go watch Monty Python stuff, it's on there. But that's essentially the answer to the question, so if you have any questions, let me know and I'll get to working on them as soon as I can. I do have a Wix website where you can see what I'll be discussing throughout the rest of the year, so feel free to check that out, but that's essentially it. So thank you very much for watching. Bye.